It's about time that my own country recognised that our interests are best served by not being a member of this club. Most people in the UK thought we joined a free trade area, but this crisis demonstrates it is anything but that.
Isn't the reality that now the vast majority of the British people and British businesses want us to have a free and fair referendum to decide our future, and it's your government denying us that?
I want a trading arrangement with Europe. I want to make sure that we can trade, given that 50% of our exports go to EU countries. It is to EU
40%.
countries. No, that's to Euro area countries. 50% to the EU, and you want to come out of the EU.
And you don't?
I don't want to come out of the EU because I want to trade with people in the EU.
Switzerland is not a member of the EU. Norway is not a member of the EU. They have exactly the same terms of trade that we do.
And in order to trade, they have to abide by every single EU rule, but they have no influence over right.
They're opted out. They're opted out of most of EU rules.
I champion the right of women to wear a scarf, to not wear a scarf, and indeed to wear the burqa. And let's get a perspective. You also talked.
If I can just add one moment. Opposed to it, aren't there? I mean, Sarah Khan.
Yes, it's called having a different opinion.
There are lots of people, and
that's my point.
And there are Muslim countries that ban it. Turkey, for example.
Oh, should we follow Turkey in every aspect
I'm just making
human
the
laws?
point.
No,
but
no.
This is not in the Quran, is it? That
Can
women have to cover their faces.
I'm so glad you're an expert on Islamic theology, and we should look for guidance for you when it comes to our imams. The point
is it in the Quran or not?
The point is this.
Well, yes or no will do.
For me, it's not mandatory. There are different opinions.
It's not
Again,
in the Quran, is it?
Showing people should have different opinions. No, it's not. It's not in the Quran.
The guy that accused me of misusing £2 million of taxpayers' money was none other than Dennis
McShay.
Scumbag McShay, who, whilst he was accusing me of this, in fact, used taxpayers' money and, in fact, over the course of 18 months, bought 8 laptops and gave them to assistants and interns as gifts, but worse than that, then set up an organisation called the European Policy Institute, claimed expenses on that, and was actually signing fraudulent cheques.
He might go to jail, do you think?
He will.
You think he definitely will?
Absolutely, no question. He's got to go to jail. MPs have gone to jail for far less than he's done, and he deserves it.
Right.
Scumbag.
Why should British taxpayers pay for new sewers in Budapest, for a new underground system in Warsaw, when our own public services are crumbling in London? Why should we pay? Why should we pay a penny piece into an organisation whose accounts have not been signed off by the auditors for the last 11 years in a row?
In my experience of politics, there are 3 groups of people. There's first of all the reactionaries. And let me just tell you, sir, and your colleagues, you sit with our country's flag. You do not represent our country's interests.
None but those on the political extremes would question that we are stronger together, safer together than ever we are apart.
You said in your speech that none but those on the extremes oppose European Union. Well, that may be right amongst professional career politicians, but a clear majority of the British people want us to have friendship and free trade with the European Union, but do not want to be members of this political union. You cannot continue against public opinion to build this European Union. If you do it against the will of the people, you are storing up enormous social and political problems for the future. I remember very well your first big act as Chancellor, when you sold 400 metric tons of gold on the world's exchanges at $275 an ounce. At today's valuation, that would be $10 billion higher. But it isn't just the fact you got it wrong, because we can all get it wrong. It was the fact that you announced in advance how much you were going to sell and on what day you were going to sell it. It was an error so basic that the average A-level economics student, even in these educationally devalued times, wouldn't have done. We haven't heard an apology. Your government has apologised for the Amritsar massacre. You've apologised for slavery. You've apologised for virtually everything. Will you please apologise for what you did as British Chancellor, and then perhaps we might just listen to you. Thank you. We pay £53 million a day to be a member of this organisation for no benefit whatsoever. Mr Cameron, when you come back from this Brussels summit, why don't you accept my challenge and let's have a proper, full debate in Britain on whether it's worth staying a member of this union or not. The last opinion polls over the weekend show that now by a majority of 2 to 1, the British people now want us to leave this union and not to pay you a penny piece. No longer do we wish to pay money to Hungarian companies involved in projects that improve the lifestyle and living standards of dogs. And our patience has completely snapped at such cultural absurdities as the €400,000 given to the Flying Gorillas dance troupe, who, using their own language of rhythm, music and gibberish, well, they'd fit in well here, wouldn't they, give performances such as the brilliant Smelly Foot Dance with an acoustic score that includes some spectacular belching. No, I'm not making it up. Increasingly people are saying, we don't want that flag, we don't want the anthem, we don't want this political class, we want the whole thing consigned to the dustbin of history. Just who the hell do you think you people are? You are very, very dangerous people indeed. Your obsession with creating this Euro state means that you're happy to destroy democracy. You appear to be happy for millions and millions of people to be unemployed and to be poor. Untold millions must suffer so that your Euro dream can continue. We had the French say no. We had the Dutch say no. And then we had the Irish say no. And this Parliament has willfully carried on ignoring the wishes of the people. You just don't get it, do you? No means no. What kind of a Parliament is this? If you believed in democracy, you would not just bulldoze aside those 3 referendum results. I've had Mr Watson saying that I behaved like an English football hooligan, when all I did was to gently point out that Commissioner Barrot is a convicted embezzler. Gary Titley said that I was a paranoid reactionary, living on the fringes of society. Well, I mean, he may have a point, I don't know. But Denny Cohn-Bendit, that great champion of free speech, said that opponents of the treaty were mentally ill. And Martin Schulz, the leader of the Socialists, saying after one of the no votes, we must not bow to populism, and that the no votes open the door to fascism. Well, I hope in the next 4 weeks in this campaign the voters of Europe can see the real face of this project. You are nationalistic, you are bullying, you are threatening, you are anti-democratic, you're a complete shower.
I was elected by this Parliament, by secret vote, so I think I deserve the respect of this Parliament from all members.
Well, Mr Barroso, I enjoyed that enormously. The fact that you can stand up and boast about the fact that you were elected in secret and that somehow this gives you democratic legitimacy is the most bizarre concept I've come across in my entire life. We were told that when we had a president, we'd see a giant global political figure. The man that would be the political leader for 500 million people. The man that would represent all of us on the world stage. The man whose job was so important that, of course, you're paid more than President Obama. Well, I'm afraid what we got was you. And I'm sorry, but after that performance earlier that you gave, and I don't want to be rude, but you know, really, you have the charisma of a damp rag and the appearance of a low-grade bank clerk. And the question that I want to ask, that we're all going to ask is, who are you? I'd never heard of you. Nobody in Europe had ever heard of you. I would like to ask you, President, who voted for you? And what mechanism? Oh, I know democracy is not popular with you lot. And what mechanism do the peoples of Europe have to remove you? Is this European democracy? Well, I sense though that you're competent and capable and dangerous, and I have no doubt that it's your intention to be the quiet assassin of European democracy and of the European nation states. You appear to have a loathing for the very concept of the existence of nation states. Perhaps that's because you come from Belgium, which of course is pretty much a non-country.
It is not acceptable that in this Parliament a group chairman not only criticise the President of the Council, but calls him a wet rag.
You may not like what I say, but just consider your behaviour. You, after the Irish people in a referendum voted no, said that our group had opened, by supporting the no vote, that we'd opened the door to fascism. You said that we had behaved as a group in the Parliament like Hitler and the Nazis in the Reichstag. We've been called by Danny Cohn-Bendit mentally weak. You know, it has to be, it can't be one way.
It is not personal statement. Mr. President Farage, it is not personal statement.
I've decided that I will make an apology. But the only people I'm going to apologise to are bank clerks the world over. And if I've offended them, I'm very sorry indeed.
What you didn't tell us in your speech was about the fact that you actually know Mr. Gaddafi. Indeed, you went to meet him in December, didn't you? Do you remember? In fact, there was a jolly nice photograph of you and Mr. Gaddafi holding hands. In fact, I have to say, I've never seen you smiling more or looking happier.
I can't imagine that the UK wouldn't be part of Europe. And I think it's good also for the UK to be part of Europe. If you have a world of 7 billion, and if you're alone in that world, I don't think that's good for the UK. And so I'll do everything to keep the UK in the European Union as a good partner.
Wouldn't it be better, Chancellor, tonight, if you went to Downing Street and said to Mr. Cameron, look, this simply doesn't work anymore. It really is time that the United Kingdom left the European Union. He hasn't got the courage to say it himself, but if you said it to him, it might have an impact. I mean, all I'm suggesting, Chancellor, is that we have a simple, amicable divorce, and then we'll all get on much better in the future.